Hey y'all, welcome to That Tennessee Feeling. Everybody make it through the storms? That was bad. And it's still kind of raining. I mean, I knew we were supposed to get some stuff, but like Memphis is underwater and Selmer, ooh, that got destroyed. And Nashville's kind of flooding and I don't know. I remember the flood, I remember the tornadoes in the 90s. Like just the weather is bipolar in the spring. It's getting worse. Hope everybody made it out okay. Thanks for coming back for another episode, guys. Y'all are amazing, and I appreciate y'all with the socials. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and YouTube. Finally got everything on YouTube. I love getting to know y'all and getting to know fellow Tennesseans. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at Gmail. It's thattnfeeling@gmail.com. If you got a suggestion, you want to hear a certain topic, you want to just say hi, feel free to. Southern hospitality, right, y'all? If you do have a second, though, please go rate the podcast on Spotify or Apple. It just kind of helps people see the podcast more. It just kind of moves it up. I'd appreciate that. So today, I'm going to talk about something that old school Nashvillians and Tennesseans know. Y'all going to remember it. I remember it as a child. And I think about it every time around the holidays. And in fact, I wrote this back in December, but I'm getting around to doing it, so my bad. But I always think about it around the holidays. We would go when I was younger, when we lived near Nashville, and we go every Christmas, and we would go see Twitty City. And I know some of y'all are like, what is Twitty City? Well, those of you who were born in Nashville or, were around at the time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you who were born at Baptist Hospital and remember Nashville before it became what it is today. You know what I'm talking about with the thousands of lights, over 1 million lights and the live nativity. And it was amazing. And I mean, nothing wrong with Opryland. Opryland is beautiful. But y'all don't understand. This was like a whole other level of wow. Y'all, it was just wow. But what is Twitty City? Well, Twitty City was actually known as Trinity Music City. But for us locals, it was Twitty City. And some still know it as Twitty City, believe it or not. I was actually talking to my family in Tennessee. I was talking to them actually at the holidays, but maybe realized I wanted to talk about this. And I asked them if anybody remembered it, and they did. And I think most people do because it was so different. It was so different from anything that was around there. You had Opryland, and you had this was something different, and it was fun. And I remember family used to drive in, and we would take them to Twitty City. We'd take them to see these lights and these buildings and the live nativity, and there was an elephant ride and a camel ride, and it was just so much fun, and it just embodied the holidays. All right, so what is Trinity Music City? All right, and it still exists to this day, by the way, guys. Trinity Music City is a broadcasting complex in Hendersonville, Tennessee. So it's in Sumter County, just north of Nashville. And the drive would take you about 30 minutes with no traffic at midnight. So any other time it's going to be about an hour. And trying to get there at any time of the day, so you're just going to head straight northeast through the city. And the complex was actually opened in 1982 by Conway Twitty, and it was known as Twitty City because it was actually his recording studio, but it was also his home. I mean, this man had a compound. The house was originally built in 1982 by Conway Twitty. He wanted a home, a recording studio. He wanted a whole complex. He had a stage. He had everything. And the complex actually cost, at that time, $3.5 million. So imagine what it would be today. The complex also included homes for his mother and his children. It had a museum. It had an auditorium. And it even had a gift shop. So if you were going to come see him, you're going to be able to buy something. Now, Conway Twitty actually lived and used the complex all the way up until his death in 1993, and it remained open until 1994 after a year-long tribute show called Final Touches. The tribute show allowed both fans and fellow performers to pay their respects to Conway. He was well loved in the music industry. Unfortunately, though, Conway failed to update his will, and battles in probate court were long and drawn out. And it was decided by a judge that the property would eventually be auctioned off. So they auctioned the property off, and it was actually bought by the Trinity Broadcast Network the same year. Even though it was auctioned, though, that didn't stop the fights. The fights continued to go. The venue was named the Trinity Music City. The venue opened its doors, and that is what people know as Twitty City. That is when the lots began. And that's the unbelievable holiday decorations. And that is what I remember as a child. So you're talking 1995 is the first year they opened with these lights. And I remember it. Lord, it was something. Families came from everywhere. I was about, how old was I? I was 9. And, I mean, it was unlike anything you'd ever seen. You saw cars streaming in, and you were just driving under these lights, all these white lights, and they were just strung from everywhere. Every direction you could see. And, I mean, and they had over 1 million lights in this complex. And they had displays up, and it was just driveways of lights and walkways of lights. And a nativity, a live nativity, and a petting zoo. And you could take photos. With everything was a photo op, y'all. And a shop, and food. Oh my gosh, you could buy any kind of food, and such good food, and gifts, and everything in this holiday display. And the whole thing was just so much fun to walk around. We had family come, and we'd see the lights, we'd look at the displays, we'd take the camel rides, and you'd go and you'd spend hours, and the next day you wouldn't want to go to school. It was so much fun. I think I have a picture still somewhere of me riding the camel that one year. I mean, it was so fun, and it was like, it's so nostalgic, and it was family time. It was good. It was fun. You know, and the complex remained open, and it changed with time. And they did the Christmas events for a long time. But eventually, you know, times changed. People stopped coming, and they stopped holding those public tours, and they only record shows now. No more events, no more public tours. They just do shows. They actually started to produce and record the Huckabee, which is a talk show hosted by Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. And they renamed the production theater to the Huckabee Theater. Now, they do allow people to be in the audience while recording, but that's really all that's used at this broadcasting center anymore. They don't do a lot. They don't do a lot like it used to be. Like, they don't have much on their website for this location. They don't do anything like Conway used to do. I remember they used to have shows up there all the time. Used to go up there a lot. And now, I mean, it's been through a lot. I mean, let's face it, Nashville has some weather. We're dealing with it right now. But unfortunately, that location was heavily damaged by the tornado outbreak on December 9th, 2023. So just 2 years ago, y'all. Less than 2 years ago. And they were going to actually redevelop a new studio and make a senior living facility in this area. And they reaccelerated those plans. And they're still going to do it. And they want to redevelop some of the property. And they put up a museum to preserve the memorabilia of Twitty City. But they were actually going to demolish the mansion that Conway lived in himself. Like this beautiful old mansion that he had built back in the 80s. And they were going to demolish it. Like it got damaged, y'all. Like there was some bad structural damage. They were gonna have to tear it down. And then because what they wanted to do was when they were going to do the new studio in the senior living facility, that meant that they were going to demolish it. And then after this tornado, it kind of just gave them more like, okay, well now it's ruined, so we can demolish it. And so they redid, you know, they were ready for it. Like they were done. But, and this is where I love Tennesseans. People of Hendersonville were like, no, that's been there for forever. You're not doing that. You know, the people of Hendersonville spoke out about the demolition and they were like, no, that's been there way too long. It's been there almost 40 years. It's historical. You can't do that. He was part of the town. He's part of the community. You need to stop. Don't do that. So they listened and they backed down and they redid their proposal and they redid the senior living facility, making it smaller, and they were able to save the historical mansion. And thanks to the city of Hendersonville and the people, they were able to save the property. And I love that the people understood the value of preserving that history and that house and even that part of country music that doesn't really exist anymore. Because Conway Twitty really did a lot for the music scene. And, you know, he's a part of the country music that, you know, obviously doesn't exist anymore. And the people say that. You know, people were able to stand up and use their voice and be like, no, I don't think I want you to do that. I don't think you're going to do that today. And it's sad, you know, it's part of childhood to me. So I'm glad that that was saved. And of course, Twitty City is nowhere near what it used to be. And maybe part of it really only does live in the memory of those locals who remember going and seeing the lights and the nativities, and or even seeing the shows when he still had it open, or his gift shop, or even drove past it when he was still living there. You know, the people who went on the tours or visited the museums or visited Twitty City with all its twinkling Christmas lights. You know, and that was really unlike most of what Nashville has never experienced at this point, and probably never will. And that may be what people say when they say they miss old Nashville. You know, the part of the nostalgia that you don't get back anymore. You know, it's a fun old memory of Nashville. Like when they used to light up, I think it was the LNC building with the messages. Or you'd go to the old spaghetti factory for a birthday and you thought it was great. Or, you know, when the Wild Horse Saloon first opened, dear Lord, I remember that. That was insane. Or, you know, just the part of old Nashville that felt the way it used to be. You know, the changed Nashville, the way it used to be, or the fond feeling when nostalgia hits. I guess that's what Twitty City is. And I guess that's what it meant to be. Well, I hope you all enjoyed listening to About Old Nashville. And I'm sure I'll have a couple more stories, a couple more podcasts on it. Don't forget to stay country, y'all.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.